Alright, I got one more. I realize I'm a little chatty, but look, here's my spot. Had some breakfast out in a little shrub field kind of thing. There were no close calls with heavy deer last night, or tarantulas, or rattlesnakes, or scorpions. It was an uneventful night. There is ice in my water again. I'm a little better dressed. But I got an email yesterday from a friend in Provo. Very interesting email. And so, I'll tell you one of my stories. I was in Montana walking on the interstate, and I was headed toward Colorado, Denver, Colorado, I kind of had in mind. And I had Yellowstone in mind too. I mean, it was kind of coming up. Yellowstone's in Wyoming. And I didn't have Utah in mind at all. I wasn't going to Utah. I'd already been to Utah 5 years ago when I first started. And I got picked up by a guy from Calgary who was going to Provo, Utah. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to Provo, Utah. And so I get dropped off in Provo, Utah. And Utah is a different place. I mean, it's Mormon Central. It's the heartbeat of Mormonism. Super high percentage of the people are Mormon. Provo is like the heartbeat of that. Provo is like the Mecca. And it's like no town I've ever experienced before. There's a lot of positive things about it. This isn't like a Mormon bashing or Utah bashing, although it will be a little bit. Because with every positive, is always the other side. So, there's a really high level of orderliness in Provo. Very like an efficiency. It's like everything is in its place. Every hair is in its place. People are very prim and proper. There's a Pleasantville vibe about it, but there's something real about it too. I mean, there really is a safe atmosphere there. People leave just shit out at like nothing. I'm sure a lot of the doors are unlocked. And I love the demeanor of people. Like Mormons that I've met are generally very patient. Like they really have these endearing qualities. And like a real genuineness in wanting to help and to do good and to be good. That's real. That's been my overall vibe that I get from Mormons, and it's a very similar vibe. But with this high level of orderliness and structure and way of being comes a super high level of intolerance for anything that doesn't fit in the box. Like me. And so it's very interesting. Here I am on a pilgrimage. I'm on a mission. As the Mormon missionaries, they send their missionaries out everywhere. I'm on the same mission, actually, in fact. I just don't have a corporation backing me. But I am backed by something. And so it's very interesting for me to come to Mormon Central, come to Provo, Utah on my mission. And there's not a lot of green space in Provo, so I was having a hard time, finding a place. First couple of nights, there was a homeless guy, older guy, kind of took me under his wing. I stayed with him a couple of nights. We got rained on both of those nights, and I'm like, all right, I'm done, because we were just on the ground. And I'm like, I need a place up for my hammock so I can get my tarp up so I'm not getting wet again. And so I found this place by the river. And I had been sleeping there there in a place on the BYU campus. I was also sleeping where I could put my hammock up. But I liked this other place by the river. It was way more secluded. And so one night I put my hammock up there, and within a half hour these two police vehicles stopped, and they start combing the trees, and soon enough they find me, inform me that I'm trespassing. And he's like, well, what are you doing here? I was, well, what do you want me to do? Tell me what to do. How are we gonna handle this? And he's like, all right, well, start packing your stuff up. I'm like, all right. And he says, can I see your ID? At which point, I clearly stated to him that I don't have ID. I'm not a citizen or a member of any corporation. And he said, oh. He's like, well, what's your name? Jesus. And so the officers were quite respectful. I mean, they even made a comment to me. He's like, well, you seem like a very peaceful guy. And, I tried to tell my story a little bit, like what I'm about. They were primarily just concerned with drugs. They wanted to, it's like, you got any drugs? Like, that they weren't really curious, even though they're respectful. They just weren't really curious in anything. And so he handcuffed me and put me in the car while he searched my bag, right? And it's like, all right, well, at some point he's going to let me go, or I'm going to have an opportunity to have a conversation, which never still hasn't happened. And so next thing I know, we're driving, and I thought we were gonna go to the police headquarters to have a conversation, figure out what's going on, and see, to deal with whatever. He just dropped me off at the Utah County Jail. Now, when you get dropped off at the Utah County Jail, it is a very highly efficient machine and also highly compartmentalized. The people working at the Utah County Jail don't care how you or why, and they don't ask questions. They're not curious in the least. They're just going to process you and put you in a little room. But before they do that, they search you. And so I had a guy say this to me, and I didn't ever think this would be said to me, but it was. He said, turn around, spread your butt cheeks, turn around, bend over, spread your butt cheeks, and cough. And he said it really fast, and I'm like, I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah. It's like, oh. All right, let me stop this.